Good evening and welcome to the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. Can we please give a round of applause for our candidates? Everybody feeling all relaxed and ready for a good evening? Yes. So I am the co-president of the League of Women Voters of Johnson County. We are a grassroots, nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes any political party or candidate. Our mission, as exemplified by this program tonight, is to familiarize voters with what is on their ballot, provide access to information about the candidates, and to, of course, encourage them to vote. To do this, we partner with other like-minded organizations like Johnson County Community College. And now I would like to introduce you to Andrea View. She is a League member, Associate Professor of Political Science here at Johnson County Community College, and also President of the Faculty Association. Please welcome Andrea.
Thank you, Janet. Again, I am Andrea View, and I teach political science here at Johnson County Community College. The JCCC Board of Trustees is a nonpartisan, publicly elected position. Board members provide a valuable service to the community by overseeing the management of the college and its property. They help ensure that Johnson County Community College continues to be one of the best community colleges in this nation. For this reason, the selection of the trustees is critical importance to the students, the employees, as well as the broader community. Tonight, we're happy to have Dr. Terry Easley-Giraldo moderate the forum with candidates for the JCCC Board of Trustees. All of the candidates for this position were invited. Dr. Easley-Giraldo is a professor of communication studies with a PhD from the University of Kansas. She has expertise in political communication, interpersonal communication, public speaking, leadership, and productive discourse. And so with that, I turn to Dr. Easley-Giraldo, our moderator for tonight's forum.
All right, good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. As Andrea said, all the candidates were invited to attend and 2 declined the invitation. Benet Hudson and Mike Storm did not accept the invitation to participate in tonight's forum. Thank you to our 6 candidates who are here tonight. Before we get started, I'd like to thank some people and let you know the format for the evening's event. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Johnson County for helping plan, organize, and host the event tonight, and especially for handling and organizing the audience questions and our wonderful timekeeper tonight. I'd especially like to thank Marie Hernandez and Debbie Kitchen for all their work. We've had many Zoom calls and many emails to make tonight happen. This is the second election I've had the opportunity to work with them, and they are amazing, so thank you so much. Yes, they deserve a round of applause. I'd like to thank the Faculty Association, Dr. Andrea View, our FA President, and Dr. Amanda Glass, our FA Vice President, for assisting me in preparing the FA questions for tonight. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank our incredible staff here at Johnson County Community College. It takes many departments to host something like this, many, as we've learned. Thank you to our student volunteers, the scheduling and events, access services, multimedia services, video services, the Midwest Trust Center operations, and marketing. This could not happen without them, and we truly have the best people here at Johnson County Community College, so thank you all. So now to the format for tonight's event. This is an informative candidate forum, not a debate, so there will not be rebuttals or back and forth between candidates. Sorry, but it'll still be great. Each question will be asked of all the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question before we move to the next candidate. We have 3 prepared questions from the FA and the League, and then after that, we will use the audience questions that you will submit. If you'd like to submit a question, please fill out the index card that you received, and if you would like another one, you can wave and we'll get you some more, and a volunteer will pick them up. I'll remind you in between questions to submit your questions, so please don't wait until the end or you may not have the opportunity for that question to be asked. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can in this hour and a half. A rotating order was created for each question, so the same candidate isn't going first or speaking after the same candidate every time. The candidates were given the order that will follow for tonight. And then at the very end, we will have 1-minute final statements from the candidates to close out our event. This event is being recorded and will be shared on Johnson County Community College's YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of this week. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. The first question of the evening. Candidates, I'm happy to repeat the question. If you're later in the order and maybe you have forgotten the question, please ask, and I'm happy to do so. So our first question, what do you see your role to be as a JCCC Board of Trustees member, and why should people vote for you? Cindy Green is our first.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the Faculty Association and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event this evening. I understand this role to be responsible for the management of the college, and that entails hiring and having oversight over the president, working on contracts, whatever that may be that comes in front of the board, approving a budget that is the expenses and the income, not just one side of the budget bill, and taking care of other issues that come in front of the board, such as policies that may be up for renewal or reviewing policies. And I also see that if I don't receive enough information on any one of those issues, that I always have the right to ask for additional information and learn more, and also ask for more time. So I oversee this as a opportunity to be on a board of directors. I am not there to run the day-to-day operations of the college. You have a wonderful staff of people that do that, and so we set policy, provide a budget, and then get out of the way and allow them to do their jobs.
Thank you. Greg Mitchell.
Yes. Really the role of the board or any board is to kind of oversee the president of the university. That's one thing. To make sure that the university is following its own policies, following the strategy that it is laid out for the future, to make sure that's being executed upon. Secondly, there is a financial responsibility for people who are in this role to assure that we're using good stewardship of taxpayer money, making sure that things are properly budgeted. A budget is a reflection of our values, so making sure that the values of the organization are reflective in the budget. So I think that's kind of the overarching thing. In terms of my qualifications, this is sort of a complex organization, and I have a lot of experience working in complex organizations, working in hospital environment. So I understand the complexities of finances, diversity and inclusion, and other things that are inherently challenging for an organization like this. So that's kind of what I see as the role and how I can, help with that.
Valerie Jennings.
I believe that we have one employee, and that employee would be the president of Johnson County Community College. We work together as the trustees on the board to oversee policy, to make decisions for the best interest of the college, and for fiscally helping to manage the taxpayer dollars for ensuring that our Johnson County Community College continues to be a school of excellence, because it is really a role model probably for the nation. Why should people vote for me? I have 37 years as a public educator, K through 12. I was a school psychologist for many, many, many years. I was an administrator for many years at the high school level, and I currently am an adjunct professor at Avila University. So I feel like I have great experience in understanding the role of someone in an educational community.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the League of Women Voters as well, and your fabulous team for putting this on. As a down ballot race, we are often overlooked in some of the bigger publications about elections, and if you're like me, you've come to learn that local elections matter a whole lot. So thank you for everyone in attendance tonight for coming and being informed and supporting candidates. So, you're tuning in and making sure that you're informed, and you're going to do the same for your neighbors and friends, I'm sure. As for the question, the role of the trustee is one that I've had an evolving understanding of in my 4 years as the only person up here tonight that is running for reelection. And as many have spoken of, the main role is that you are the sole employer of the president. He is our one employee, and so we work very closely with the president of the college to ensure that the direction we're going, the vision we have, and the goals we have set forth in our strategic plan and others match with how this individual is leading. Besides that, we do approve a budget every year. In fact, next month, if you want to come to an exciting meeting, it will be the annual approval of the budget for Johnson County Community College. And finally, we are in charge of the mill levy, which we are, the 7 individuals on this board are solely responsible for. So those are the basic tenets, and I will address my own qualifications. I'm the only incumbent running. I am a K-12 teacher, so the students I teach today are the community college's students tomorrow, and I have spent many years at this place enjoying learning about all that we do for our community, and would love to have your vote again in November.
Ken Seltzer.
Thank you. My name is Ken Seltzer. I'm a retired business executive who remains very active in the community. I sit on 6 boards or councils, so I understand what a board is. I don't need to learn it. I know what they do. So just a few things. I want to share that my education and educators in my life changed the trajectory of my career incredibly. I was a first generation college student in my family. I had 6 or 5 other siblings follow me. I currently serve on the KSU Foundation Board of Trustees and on the KSU Business School Advisory Council. We've wrestled with the same issues that we're wrestling here on the board, enrollment and other related issues. While Kansas Insurance Commissioner, I brought together educators, legislators, and industry executives, just like we need to do in our community, to create a new and highly successful insurance certificate, insurance and financial services certificate that would be an excellent addition here to Johnson County because of our large local insurance community that we have here. Over 15 years ago, Kate Allen, now with the college, helped us develop an Innovative Teacher Award at the Blue Valley Educational Foundation. We've done that and supported that for the last 15 or 16 years. It was so popular there, we took it to the Olathe School Board or the Olathe Foundation, and they're doing it there now for the last 3 or 4 years. We currently support scholarships here. One of them is to help nurses coming out of our nursing program transition into K-State so that they can go there and come back. The School of Education. We're thinking about doing it with nurses. My wife, sitting out here in the audience, bless her heart, is a nurse. My wife and I also support scholarships for aged out kids that come out of high school here locally and going into college. So just a lot of things that qualify me and show my interest and demonstrate my interest in education. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara Wiggins.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters, our faculty association, and to the community for coming out to hear from the candidates. I understand the role of Board of Trustees to be one of where we are supporting the vision of the president, we make decisions and oversee policies, but one important aspect that I didn't hear was I believe that a major part is advocating for students, for faculty, and for all staff members that are a part of the college. I am a wife, mother of 3 daughters, and I take pride in advocating and serving students. I sit on the Olathe Citizen Advisory Group. I'm a member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Group of Suburban Balance, and also within Olathe, I sit on the Diversity, Engagement, and Advisory Council. I think it's important to support the vision for the college. I understand that in order to be successful, we need to continue advocating for the resources and things that help our students be successful.
Thank you. So far, we're off to a great start. No one went over time. Didn't have to cut anyone off. This is great. Please remember to submit your questions. If you have a question, you can hold up your index card and our volunteers will come through the aisles and select those. If you would like new note cards, you can maybe wave at them and they can give you some new note cards as well. And you can submit multiple. You're not limited to just one if you'd like to submit. All right, question 2. You ready? Awesome. Johnson County Community College is noted for its programs that serve first-generation, minority, veteran, and special needs students. How will you ensure the strength of these programs as a trustee? Our first candidate is Valerie Jennings.
That's a great question for me. So I was the administrator at the alternative high school in Blue Valley, and I had many students who were first-generation college students coming out of the academy. I also had many kids who, because of their either immigrant status or financial situation, had a very, very difficult time moving forward. Johnson County Community College was a lifeline for them. They were able to get scholarship. They were able to take some College Now classes while they were still in high school. They were able to recognize from the instructors at the at Johnson County that they could do it and that they could make it. And there are so many programs that Johnson County provides for students who want to go a different path other than four-year. And I had many, many, many students take advantage of that. It is a wealth to our community, and I can't even imagine a community without the services that are provided here.
Tara Wiggins.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely, it's a wordy one. Johnson County Community College is noted for its programs that serve first-generation, minority, veteran, and special needs students. How will you ensure the strength of these programs as a trustee?
I think it's important to make sure our first-generation students, veteran students, and special needs students understand and know how to access the resources that the college provides. Sometimes it can be overwhelming coming to a campus if you don't know the resources that are available. I think it's important to make sure we continue to highlight the amount of scholarships, the work-study programs, and different resources that we provide to our students. And I think a bigger picture is being able to help them navigate the whole process and experience within coming to a campus or being on college, especially if it's the first generation or first time member of the family coming to college.
Cindy Green.
Well, I'm actually one of those first-generation students when I attended the community college here, and they made it very welcoming. I was also an older adult in my 30s, which was old back then when you're hanging out with 18-year-olds in class, and I always think they made you feel welcome. They looked at all these different diverse groups of what needs and extra programs can we put in place to help them, from scholarships to helping the veterans with other programs. They may need mental health, and now they have a much more expanded veterans program here. I think a lot of it wraps around being welcoming and making people feel like they belong. So it's important that you don't just look at one group, that you look at the variety and say, what all services could we offer for them? What helps them achieve the goals that they want so that they are successful and that they can go on and have a better job, better life skills, a multitude of things. My experience here allowed me to then continue on to Ottawa University, Kansas City, and finish my college degree, and then go on to have a very successful degree in business administration, and then to take that and participate in multiple jobs. I have experience in the banking world, in manufacturing, in governmental affairs, and a variety of other things, local government. that allowed me to have those experiences because the help and the support I got here at the community college, and I would see myself as a trustee making sure that the students feel that like they welcome and they belong here so that they too can have a future success like I did.
Ken Seltzer.
Johnson County Community College is a place where you can go to earn your credentials and your degree so you can achieve your dreams. And the really cool thing about it is that it encompasses everybody. The community college is for everybody. And that's something I think we all need to take home with us tonight. It's incredibly important to this community. I have some quick stories. I was a first-generation student. You heard that earlier. I have a brother who got a big promotion because he had attended a community college in the state of Kansas, and he was the only one that was nearing a degree, so he was selected for that promotion. I mean, there are so many stories that are so cool. My professional life has a whole bunch of credentials in it that I've earned. I didn't earn them at a community college, but they make a difference. They make a real difference. We have 17,000 students here who earn credit hours every year. We have 17,500 students who earn continuing education non-credit hours. We have a really cool program here that we need to build on and make a bigger, even bigger part of the community, responding to community employer needs in a better way, in a more seamless way. Just some really good things. I've provided scholarships to the foundation, like I've said, to help people with special needs, particularly financially challenged people and first-generation people. I've mentored over 15 students in high school, going to college, in college who are challenged in some way, generally first-generation students. I just really think that beefing up our counseling program here will pay big dividends. It will help increase the retention rate, help reduce the dropout rate. There's a lot of things that we can focus on if we sit back and look at the big picture and what some of our real issues are. The enrollment trends need to be addressed big time. We can do that with many of these special populations that you talked about.
Craig Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the ultimate goal of the college should be to do whatever it takes to assure student success. And I mentioned earlier that I think the budget should reflect the values of the organization, and I think this is an incredibly important value for the organization. So to that end, of course, there are scholarships, there are mentoring programs we could develop. What I'm thinking of is just kind of in terms of more or less sort of white glove service for communities who need it, the first generation students and people who have special needs, veterans, minorities, et cetera, who may be kind of disadvantaged in an organization like this. One of the things that I think is important is to really develop a strategy around this if one hasn't been developed already. I'm sure there is one. But to that extent, I would be in favor of developing a blue ribbon committee that's really focused on these issues to figure out how can we take care of our students regardless of their circumstances and assure that people in this category are well served and are set up for success within Johnson County Community College.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you. One of our values at Johnson County Community College is that all students have a sense of belonging. And I think since COVID, we have come to realize how incredibly important that particular value is. We've also shifted in the time that I've been serving to really be a student-centered, focused campus and put that up front. Those two combined means that any individual that comes on this campus, whether they are coming for the first time or whether they are coming to take one class for the summer, has a feeling that they are wanted here and they have a place here, they belong. So that's a really important value that I, particularly in my time on the board, have articulated over and over and requested that the student groups that you mentioned come to the board. One of the unfortunate parts about being on a board is sometimes you're in a boardroom and you don't get to see all the really incredible things. It's hard to get a sense of the depth of this wonderful place and all that it offers. So Dawn Rattan and I serve on the Inclusion and Belonging Board, and one of the first things we did is requested that every month we get to speak to another student group and really hear from them on what it means to belong, how they feel on campus, what services they get to take part in or offer other students. And over, what we hear from students is that this is a really special place when you get plugged in. It's not like other community colleges that are really commuter institutions. People come, and when they find their people, their group, they really buy in and invest themselves in this institution, and we get the great benefit that once they've invested themselves here, then we reap the benefits when they graduate and go out into the workforce.
Great. Thank you. Just a friendly reminder that if you have any questions you would like to submit, you can raise your index card and we'll come get those from you. All right. So far, you all get A's for meeting the time requirements. Y'all are doing excellent. All right, next question. Give an example of when you facilitated a crucial conversation around opposing viewpoints. Include the benefit of the resolution and how you managed relationships to enhance the culture of the group or organization. And we'll start with Greg Mitchell.
On many levels, I kind of do this day in and day out in my professional world. But one of the things that you deal with in leadership positions and in management is dealing with conflict within an organization. So generally speaking, when I'm dealing with trying to come to a resolution between two parties that have opposing viewpoints, is I usually will sit down and speak to each of them individually and hear their stories and try to understand their point of view and kind of take a deeper dive into their stories. And then afterwards, most of the time, I will get the two parties together and talk through it together and try to really facilitate a conversation where I get both parties to see each other's stories and to understand where each other's coming from. And so that's not a specific example, but these kinds of things happen all the time. And it's usually, in most cases, has turned out to have a really good result where the people involved in the dispute will come together and see and understand each other better and work well together.
Laura Smith Everett.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Give an example of when you facilitated a crucial conversation around opposing viewpoints. Include the benefit of the resolution and how you managed the relationships to enhance the culture of the group or organization.
Thank you. In my role in K-12, one of the things I did was served as what was called an instructional coach for 10 years. And the role of an instructional coach is really to help an educator improve their practice. On paper, it sounds quite easy. In practice, it's very difficult because sometimes we get into habits for the way we instruct or the way we organize or the way we manage students, and it's very difficult to change those habits. I cannot cite a specific instance because just like Greg, it's happened so many times that they kind of all blur together, but every time when you follow the formula of listening to people, really hearing their concern, and then making it about students, you can come out with a resolution that makes most people happy. And I think that that really applies for the work I've done on the board. Probably the most frequent comment I've had from people who watched our board meetings, which I am always surprised how many people watch our board meetings, is that I ask really good questions. And that's because I want to make sure that the public understands and that I have a full understanding before taking a vote, sometimes on things that are controversial. And when it comes to a board decision that is controversial, I always vote my conscience. I don't align with groups or parties that may have different feelings. I vote on what's best for that situation and that vote. And then when it comes to having disagreements with my other board members, relationships are central. They are central to the work I did as an instructional coach and finding a way forward and an agreement, and it works on the board too. We are 7 individuals. The only power we have is in our majority. If I make a dissenting vote that's in the minority, I understand that my viewpoint was not what everyone agreed to.
Ken Seltzer.
Thank you. And Greg, you hit it spot on earlier. As a businessman, we deal with those issues every day, conflict and resolution of conflict. I've often wondered why there isn't a little more diversity of thought on this Board of Trustees. A businessman who's grown up in business, who understands business and understands resolution of conflict, I would simply advocate that I'm one of those people who has experience, and it sounds, Greg, like you have that experience too. I'll give you an example. So the second day I was in office as Kansas Insurance Commissioner, I pulled together, we organized it a couple weeks ahead of time, we pulled together a group of educators, of business people, of legislators to figure out what we could do to build the insurance industry in the state of Kansas so that more competition would be out there for your premium dollars. That usually means a lower cost. And one of the most quickest things we could do was to include that insurance certificate, create that insurance certificate that I told you about a few minutes earlier. Well, wouldn't you know, a simple solution like that creates conflict because 3 different groups are coming from 3 different places. We came to a solution. We asked everybody to figure out what we could do to make it happen and make it happen quick because the industry was suffering from a lack of employees. They came up with a solution of the certificate. We now have that certificate at 6 different Regents universities, and it needs to be here in Johnson County because of this huge industry that we have here. So I would offer that as an example. Another conflict that I dealt with a little more recently, or soon after that, I guess, was how to create a customer focus in the insurance department. In business, you're always talking about how to serve the customer. How do we create a customer focus amongst a bunch of government employees? How do you do that? Well, we can do that if you're thoughtful, if you understand the end game, if you understand where we want to get to in the end. Thank you.
Tara Wiggins.
Can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Give an example of when you facilitated a crucial conversation around opposing viewpoints. Include the benefit of the resolution and how you manage the relationships to enhance the culture of the group or organization.
So I would like to focus on the area of DEI because we know for many, this is a topic that brings on a lot of opposing questions and a lot of different views. And so as I sit on the different committees, such as the Olathe Advisory Group and the Diversity and Engagement Group, we work to come to resolutions where we are making sure we're listening to each other, we're trying to understand each other's opinion, where each of us have come from. And what I find to be very helpful is when you find a connection with someone, or if you're able to build a relationship, that helps in the process of conflict resolution. We need to be able to communicate and to listen to each other, and not just listen to say you're listening, but to listen with the purpose and with the hope of coming to a solution.
Cindy Green.
As a businesswoman, I too have had multiple opportunities over the years to bring resolution, bring people together, and to listen. But the example I'm going to share is when I was working at the League of Kansas Municipalities as their deputy director. Part of our responsibility every year was to create a public policy statement of what issues were most important to the cities in the state of Kansas, which there's over 600 of them, that we wanted to fight for or fight against in the Topeka capital. We had 4 to 5 meetings where we heard from different city leaders, and that could be an elected official or it could be someone that is on staff in those cities reviewing our policies. And if you try and get 600 different cities of all shapes and sizes on the same page on every subject, it is a challenge. But it was doable because we had one ultimate goal, and that was to take a policy statement that we could get behind and support over in the Capitol that would help all cities. So it may not help my city particularly as well, but if I know it's going to help the other majority of the cities get the needs that they needed in Topeka, then I'm going to support it, and I'm going to get support from people that want to help do that. The listening is the most important part of this, and trying to find common resolution of what's going to work for all people the most. So if you can get, it's like Bob Dole used to say, if you could get 80% of what you want, why would you kick the can down the road and get 100% of nothing? So if I'm elected, you will find me to be thorough, prepared, strong, and a good listener. All of these are attributes I hope that the voters see as beneficial to the next Board of Trustees.
Valerie Jennings.
So as a school psychologist and also as an administrator, I had many opportunities to sit in meetings with opposing viewpoints. And when you're in public education, those opposing viewpoints are very strong. You might have a family who is really fighting for their student, and then you have a school district who is trying to be fiscally responsible and do what they think is best for a student. Those two things don't always align. I was a trained facilitator, and so I sat in on a lot of very difficult meetings. And what I found is that if you listen and you allow everyone to have voice, and you listen to that voice, and you summarize each person's voice so that everybody has an understanding of what the other person is saying. It really comes down then to the relationship in that room that's developed through everyone having that opportunity. Typically what would happen is we would start with a question, we would go through everyone, ask everything that we needed to ask, we would summarize everything, and then we would start putting up an action plan to find the resolution that would work the best. I found that was always the way to get to the best solution that everyone could agree to.
Okay, thank you. A final reminder, if you have not gotten any questions in, but you have one, this will probably be our last time that we take up questions. So you might want to get those questions out so we can get those. So raise up your index cards and we'll collect those. All right, we're now moving into the audience questions of the evening. Our first question from the audience is, what concerns you most about the future of Johnson County Community College? And we'll start with Tara Wiggins.
I would say, I don't necessarily feel that it's a concern, but I would want the college to stay relevant, continue to be an innovator in the community, and if I had to narrow it down to something, I would definitely want the college to continue to find ways to keep enrollment growing. Johnson County Community College offers a lot of different programs, and it's a great place for kids or adults to get a head start on education. I know different people have different concerns, but I think if we focus on student success and all that we have accomplished thus far, we can kind of get ahead of concerns that may arise.
Valerie Jennings.
I believe that there are several things that concern me, and I think making sure that we can keep the tuition rate low, where the Johnson County Community College has the lowest tuition in the state of Kansas for higher education. And I think that's extremely important that we're able to keep that so that any student who would like to come to Johnson County Community College and be a learner feels like they can afford to do so. I also think that one of my concerns is to ensure, kind of given where we're at in the economy, I think it's real important that we continue to be able to provide scholarship monies for students so that, again, students who don't think they can make it here have an opportunity to do that. I'm a believer that education is a changer of lives. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I think it's so important that we continue to provide those opportunities to our students, not only in Johnson County, but in the KC Metro, and also through the state of Kansas. I just think it's huge. The other concern I have is to make sure that we continue to have the funding so that we can continue to innovate and create programs for an ever-changing world in this global society.
Greg Mitchell.
Thank you. One of the things I'm really focused on is a continued recognition that Johnson County Community College is an important asset in this community. And there's many reasons why that is the case. There's certainly the economic impact on it, which is substantial, but really kind of focused on, what it means to people who are coming here to learn, whether they're fresh out of high school or they're an old guy like me who wants to do enhanced skills development or whatever the case may be. One of the things that I think is critically important is that this be an affordable place to go to college. I went to college, went to a 4-year undergraduate program at a state school back in the mid-'80s. My first semester of college, my tuition was $400. I've actually extrapolated out what that means in today's dollars, and it's $1,200. Tuitions have grown exponentially, and part of the reason why that is because the funding source has changed pretty significantly for colleges and universities. So I think it's really important that we recognize that we do whatever we can in terms of lobbying to make sure that these organizations are well funded and that it's a place where people can afford to go to school, develop skills, get the education that they need, and also retain this organization as the economic driver that it is in Johnson County.
Ken Seltzer.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. We clearly are at the core of the economic development community here in Johnson County. We need to build it. We need to be more aggressive. I'm concerned that even though we have a growing population here in Johnson County, we have a declining enrollment over the long term. Over the last 12 years, we've had a declining enrollment, a little uptick coming out of COVID right now, but it's a long-term issue that we need to address. And it makes me wonder and makes a lot of us think that perhaps we aren't addressing the needs of the employer community. We will focus on that. We will bring a thoughtful approach to how we can be more responsive to employers here in Johnson County. How can we develop more public-private partnerships where they are doing some of the funding, more of the funding than what we have now with local businesses? You only have to look at Wichita State. You understand, we all understand that's a 4-year school. They absorbed a tech school, but they are incredibly, incredibly responsive to their employer community. And if you drive around that campus, there is new buildings going up, our new buildings going up all over the place that are sponsored by the local community that wants to hire employees coming out of their school. We should be that innovation hub here in Johnson County in a big way, and I mean in a big way. The tax load here is interesting. So we've all talked here about, or many of us have talked about keeping tuition low, but we need to solve for a bigger picture. We have a $180 million budget. $120 million of that is provided by taxpayers. The other third is provided by the state and by tuition. If we don't solve for all 4 parts of it, we will have issues with our tax base. There's 440,000 voters in this county. Interestingly, only 110,000 of them will vote in this election, and then maybe only 60,000. So I'm told to stop. We got a whole new story on that, so we'll do that later.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you for the question. I will tell you the most brought up topic on the Board of Trustees that continues to bother many of us is our enrollment. Over time, we have declined, as Ken spoke to, over the last 10 to 12 years, and it is ever present on our minds. We've had many discussions about it. I have been a very big advocate for trying to push us to think outside the box. Our census data tells us that people are having less babies, fewer babies. They're not having less, they're having fewer. My English mother was just shaking her head right now. And because of that, we are having fewer and fewer 18 to 21-year-olds, the most common age group to enroll at our campus. So the question is, what do we do to grow and think creatively outside of that 18 to 21-year-old age band? And I think it's a really tricky question, but if we look at some of our areas where enrollment is booming, our CTE programs are bursting at the seams. We literally have a plumbing lab with toilets in the lobby of our brand new CTE building because there's no more room for the plumbing students to go. So if you want to see a plumbing lab, go walk right on into the entrance there of our WCT building. But we've got some programs that are bursting at the seams, and that tells us that that's what our workforce needs, and that's where students are driven. The problem is you have to be nimble, and you have to have enough people who are willing to come in and help teach those, and that is where we get caught. We do not have enough people that can come in to be our instructors, and that's a really tricky point for us. The other big thing, I see my fellow trustee, oh darn, I was going to bring up bursars. Greg Musil, I see you. I hate the word bursars. We'll talk about it next.
We have lots to look forward to. Cindy Green.
I think my biggest concern, and it's an umbrella that covers all the other issues that everybody spoke before me, is local control. We continue to lose local control at our local entities, whether it's city, county, or the school districts. We are a board that is elected by the people. We should be able to make decisions that make the electorate happy. If they don't, then they can elect us out. We don't need the state or federal government telling us what to do. So in regards to enrollment, we get more and more restrictions put on us by the state. It impacts what we might be able to do and go out into the enrollment world. Our finances are definitely impacted by this. The amount of money that we continue to send over versus the amount of money that is returned to us is part of that balancing the stool of how do we pay for colleges for students, for them to continue to receive funds too from the state. Future programs is critical. Who would have imagined 10 years ago some of the things that we're teaching today that I don't even understand? I have to call my son that got his first web designing class from here to help me with my computer sometimes. The phones we now have, those things didn't exist 10 years ago like they do now. So we can't even begin to fathom what the next 10 years are going to be like. What do our students need to get jobs? How are we going to help our business community by providing them people that can come to work for them because they have the skill sets that we can't even begin to dream of now? I know there are groups out there dreaming of these things, and I appreciate them because that's what we need. But we need to be nimble and be able to go from what we can do here locally, not just what the state tells us we can do to provide to our community.
All right. Next question. Johnson County Community College faculty are unionized. What has been your experience at working with unions, and how will that experience inform your leadership at the college? We'll start with Ken Seltzer.
I think we should respect the union here at Johnson County Community College. They bring with them the culture of the school. They bring with them their highly trained professionals. They ought to be treated and included in decision-making like highly trained professionals. The Higher Learning Commission, as you know, issued a report 4 or 5 years ago that said there need to be more of a shared governance structure. I support that. I think, again, we clearly, as trustees, are the ultimate decision makers, but we need to respect the different groups that are part of this college and help us deliver our product, which is educating students of all ages across the spectrum in both credit and non-credit hours. So I think another really incredible point is that the union here needs to be, the faculty association needs to be nimble, forward-thinking, and willing to change. Just like the administration, just like people sitting on the board of trustees, we always have to think about who our end customer is, and that is educating students so they can be productive in society, either with certificates, a launch pad into some other university, or a degree. We need to always be forward-thinking and thinking about our customer, and I would urge the union to join the trustees and the administrators to always be thinking ahead rather than thinking behind or necessarily protecting ourselves. We need to think about the students. Thank you.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you for that question. I have been a union member every time I've been with an employer where that opportunity stands. My mother is a lifelong KNEA member, and I, as a child, reaped the benefits of having a parent who was in a union, because that meant better work conditions and better pay. And that's what unions are for. Their job is to be the voice of their members. I fully support our faculty association and their right to speak for what their members need and to articulate that to the Board of Trustees. We will have our negotiations come up next year, and I look forward to that being a constructive partnership where we look at what's best for JCCC, because when we take care of our people take care of our students and our institution, and I appreciate that. Now, I know everyone is on the edge of their seats dying to know my concern with Brassard, so I just have to bring it up. The word is what I have a concern with, not the Brassards themselves. So I just want to be clear. I love those people in our college who serve in that role. However, there's a lot of terminology that is a barrier for students, and it makes education really intimidating. So as I have joked frequently on the board, terms like Brassards and the formal barriers we have for enrolling and getting students where they need to get help or support is something that gets in the way of students wanting to come to college at all. And it's a really important standpoint that I've taken over and over, that we need to lessen those barriers, make the terminology less intimidating, more welcoming, more common than some of the inherited old-fashioned terms that we still use in higher ed today.
Valerie Jennings.
Well, labor unions, they provide the protections for the workers' rights, their pay and working conditions. As an educator, I was always a member of KNEA. When I moved into administration, administrators typically are not part of KNEA, but I continued to pay my dues because I felt like it was really important. If we support our teachers to do their job, to support students, that's how you make things work well. And that shared governance is so important. Teachers know what's going on in their classrooms, and we need to be listening to them. The Faculty Association allows for that voice at the administration level and also at the state level. The association also allows lots of benefits that teachers otherwise would not have. And so I think that's real important. It's a lot easier to be part of a group, to have some leveraging power and to negotiate than if you're trying to do it by yourself. And that's what the union will do for the teachers who are here.
Cindy Green.
I personally have not had an opportunity to join a labor union, But my understanding is the benefits of it is, especially here with the Faculty Association, is to be able to negotiate for salary and benefit scales that are equitable to all. So the union can also be a strong supportive partner. I actually talked to a faculty member this last week, and one of their issues was an issue with another faculty member, and the union was very helpful for them to walk through the process, to understand what their rights were, and to help them get through a difficult situation at work. It's a good voice that they provide us information that's what's best for the students. They're with the students day in and day out. What better person to ask is our faculty association of what are some of the important things when we're getting ready to make policy decisions. We can ask the students too, but we can talk to the teachers and faculty of what are the things that impact them. And also, the ultimate decision is going to be with the board, but we need to listen to all the voices. And the Faculty Association is definitely one of the strong voices here that I am glad to know that there is this shared governance board, and I will be planning on, it's a new board, so learning more about it, and then also saying what other good things could we be doing similar to that, what other exceptional work can we be doing and learning from that. The other thing that the Faculty Association is great about doing is they have a united voice when they go to the state, the federal, and the local other elected officials to share their concerns. So they've got a voice there that they too can go as one unit to help do what's best for the community colleges across the state of Kansas.
Tara Wiggins.
So I fully support labor unions. I had the privilege of growing up with my mother, who's a retired school teacher of 34 years, and she's still a current member of the Newark Teachers Union. And so I totally understand the protections that come with those that become a member of the union. Unions are important for our community because they protect worker rights, they provide a living wage, and they give voice to the workers who may feel like they do not have one. It's honestly watching and growing up with my mom as she too continues to be active in the union is where I got the urge or the passion to advocate, because not all the time everyone is able to voice their opinion, and sometimes it is better to be a part of a group. And so I will definitely always support our unions, collaborating with them, working with them to be the voice that our teachers need, and be willing to listen so that we can grow and continue to learn how important our unions are to our community.
Greg Mitchell.
Yeah, like about half of the people on this panel, I've never been in a union, but I have a little bit of a historical perspective. Our lives are significantly better because of the historical work that unions have done in this country in terms of, the impact that it's had on wages, benefits, the 40-hour work week. I don't think there's any denying that. I have done a little research on this, and I almost hate it when people say that, but my take on it is that there's evidence that strongly suggests that there is a close link between unionization and educational excellence. So I think that the union is a very, very important part of Johnson County Community College. And in terms of my past experience, I've always been kind of on the other side of union relationships. But I have found too that in my area, the union staff have generally been better trained and better capable than the non-union staff that I've had. So I'm pretty pro-union. Never been in one though.
All right, our next question from the audience. How would you respond to pressure from outside Johnson County non-experts to change curriculum based on partisan politics, the example given from this person, the Florida AP courses? Our first candidate, Laura Smith Everett.
I think we're going on record now. I think in 2019 I had a doozy about the track as my question. So I'll lead off with this question by saying what some other members of this panel have said. This is why local control matters. You vote for people that are going to oversee this institution and what's best for this county. One of the things that is amazing and a little overwhelming is we're the only community college for the largest county in Kansas. And that means that we have a lot of constituents and a lot of businesses that we need to listen to. But what we don't need is outside groups telling us based on their political beliefs or any other set of beliefs, what we need to do to train our students, our workforce, and prepare them to be great members of our community. So I don't support outside groups. I support, we have amazing, I have now lost my words, groups, advisory groups for each of our programs. So we have business members who come in and meet regularly with each of our programs to tell us what matters in our local community, how our workforce is meeting or is not meeting the demands. As I spoke of earlier, our CTE programs are bursting at the seams, and we are really proud of that because that means that we've got students that immediately have a job and are getting plugged in with our local community and serving. Those are the kind of things that matter. Those are the kind of things that a community college is supposed to do, and bending to the will of political wins is not one of them.
Cindy Green.
This position of trustee is a nonpartisan position, and I'm the only candidate that's not endorsed by a slate from another political party. I'm not beholden to any party, and the focus on making decisions for the good of students, faculty, and staff, and the people of Johnson County is going to come from me and not from outside forces. It's important for this local control, for the people that are here tonight, to be voting for the people that have the qualities and expectations from what you hear and see, what you want this community college to be in the future. We've got to continue this great relationship we're having of being excellence in this county. And if we take it backwards by outside forces getting in here and taking away some of the great things that community college offers to students, to faculty, the jobs that we provide here, and not just the jobs that we're preparing people for, but the jobs here on campus, and just helping everyone in this community understand all the great things that go on here. We talked a little bit beforehand about what are some of the events happening here. You can't even keep track of everything that is going on at this community college because there's something for everyone, every place you look around this facility. So I will be listening to the people of Johnson County.
Tara Wiggins.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How would you respond to pressure from outside Johnson County non-experts to change curriculum based on partisan politics? And the example given was the Florida AP courses.
So I'm definitely going to mimic some of what I've heard. We definitely need to keep local control. And the key word in that question for me is non-experts. I don't believe when we need to make decisions about curriculum, we should be talking to the faculty, we should be talking to the ones with the experience, and we definitely need to pull in our advisory groups. Because the ultimate goal is we need to make decisions that are best for our students, for young adults, and for whoever wants to attend the college. I feel it's important to bring the community in when it's feasible, but I definitely would not be supporting any outside groups, especially if they do not have the expertise that we are looking for to make decisions.
Greg Mitchell.
So earlier, you kind of asked what our big concern was for the future, and I sort of mummed words a little bit. This is it. This is one of my big concerns. You know, there's a process for changing and adapting curriculum here at Johnson County Community College. There's an Educational Affairs Committee, and there are 8 divisional curriculum committees that develop curriculum as needed, and then in certain instances, they'll bring those to the board. In terms of local control, the state really has I think, two interests. One is to fund colleges and universities, and two is to make sure that there is a local board that is charged with overseeing those funds. And that's it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty straightforward. That's how I view it. It's local control.
Valerie Jennings.
I would agree with what everybody else has said. Local control is what we need. We don't need any outside people telling us how we should run our college. Johnson County is one of the best counties, I think, in the nation. And I think we have very intelligent, good-serving people. And our job as trustees is to really pay attention to what the Johnson County voters wish for us as a community and also as the college in Johnson County. Our teachers know what needs to be taught. Our administrators, there's a process for how curriculum is developed, and we'll follow those processes to ensure that we are providing our students the curriculum that's necessary for them to go out and get good jobs and work well in the workforce in areas that need employees.
Ken Seltzer.
And Terry, I need to ask you a question again. Did you say Florida? You
The
repeated it.
example was Florida AP courses.
Okay, and I have no idea how that could influence this board. What we do need are strong trustees who have experience in the business world, in the academic world, and some other worlds. But we need some diversity of thought on the board so that we can hold our own and not succumb to outside voices. There will always be some input from the state because, as was mentioned before, we have 26 million or so coming from the state of Kansas. They'll want to have some influence on how that works. But we have responsibility for the guidance of this board, and if we listen to outside voices outside of the state and outside of our voters here, we're missing the point. And I think all of us can readily see that, and I guess I don't understand what that issue would be. If we're not strong enough to do it, we shouldn't be on this board.
Our next question, audience question. How can trustees encourage shared governance processes are followed? What would you do to include staff and faculty in decision-making processes? We'll start with Cindy Green.
When decisions are made by the trustees, I will make sure the information we are provided includes recommendations from the faculty, students, and staff and the variety of committees that have been set up to accumulate that information and share with us. I would also include the business community in there because we are providing students to the workforce for them, and so it's important to also keep them in the loop of what we are doing and why we are doing it. As a direct result of the HLC report, I understand that they've created academic and staff councils and the overall college council to ensure broad and diverse opinions and information are available and transparent. This is a good start towards communication and sharing of ideas, concerns, and solutions that can improve decision-making. Because this process is relatively new, like I said, my mission would be to study it, get feedback, and seek ways to improve it. One of my first tasks as a trustee will be to listen and learn from all the stakeholders in order to improve the governing process. If essential information is missing that is necessary to make a fully informed decision, I will ask for additional information and more time.
Greg Mitchell.
Yeah, I think it's really important to certainly listen to all the people who are involved in the decision-making process. That first listening session really needs to be about how that shared governance framework works and how it works well and how it could be better. So it's an ongoing and evolving process, I believe. In my industry, shared governance is not an entirely unusual concept, so I kind of get it. But ultimately, to run a complex organization like this and to be making the best decisions for our constituents, we need to have a framework in place that assures that we're getting the proper information, feedback, and decision-making from other stakeholders within the organization. In this case, it would be the faculty. Pretty simple.
Valerie Jennings.
It's always been and always will be my belief that an educational community requires the contribution of everybody's voice for the best decisions and the solutions to be made regarding a community, and in this case, it would be the college's community. As a trustee, I would welcome, I would listen, and I would work hard to make sure that those voices are heard and considered in matters that pertain to decision-making processes of the college. You know, I think that sometimes we can have committees and that becomes, we think, part of that whole shared governance. However, shared governance goes beyond just having committees and listening to what people have to say. It's also making some action planning as a result of what those committees' recommendations are and taking action on those things. That's, for me, true shared governance. I would be present and visible on campus as much as I'm able to so that faculty and students could see that I am committed to support them and and the college's best interests.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you for the question. This issue has haunted this campus for quite a while. When I ran in 2019, it was front and central as the Higher Learning Commission tasked us with improving our shared governance. I think since that time, we have a new president who heard loud and clear from the Board of Trustees that hired him that was a priority, and there has certainly been some improvement. The rub will always be between those who make the decisions and those who have to live with those decisions and live out those decisions. I don't think it will ever be a perfect world for either party, but I think we've learned that we are not, as Valerie said, we're not doing more than just committees. And I think that is the next step for our college. We have established staff council and faculty council, and I think that's great. But we do need to get to the point where faculty and staff are really included when the decisions are first being developed. And having those voices at the table is really central to making sure that we're making good decisions that will be instituted well and correctly. And when you have people making decisions that aren't tied to those that are living them out, you really can get cynicism and have a really difficult time getting people to follow along, if you will, with those decisions. And I think that is certainly, for my part, something that I will be bringing up a lot in the next 4 years.
Ken Seltzer.
Yeah, I shared earlier a few minutes ago about the Higher Learning Commission that came in 2019, had the finding that Laura just referred to. And out of that came a new organization within the school called the Academic Branch Council, which is performing an important function, I think, within this whole shared governance issue. They're bringing up ideas. One of the real timely issues that they're dealing with is academic integrity with ChatGPT and other AI forms. How do you know that the student is writing their own term paper? They're dealing with some really, really important issues. And I think there's steps being made in the right direction here in shared governance. I would just simply reemphasize that I will always deal with the faculty, or we don't deal directly with the faculty, but I will always hold the faculty for what they are, highly trained professionals that should be and have to be an important part of the future and the future success of turning the enrollment around, of being more responsive to the community, to the employer community, being more responsive to others that use our graduates or even people who attend here for a few hours. It's all part of a bigger picture. The faculty are incredibly important in that.
Tara Wiggins.
When it comes to shared governments, communication and transparency needs to be at the forefront of any decision. We need to be able to support our faculty and rely and believe in their expertise so that we can make the decisions that we need to make for our students. If elected, I will definitely make communication and transparency a top priority, because when you're able to communicate and get the information out, then it leads to being able to make an informed decision. I think it's important to meet with different groups, but while you're meeting and discussing, you also need to have an action plan to carry out and make solutions. So I definitely feel like communication is definitely a big part of shared governance.
So we're nearing the end of our time. There's so many questions. I wish we could stay here all night. Maybe not all of you do, but we could, but sadly we do not have time. So I would encourage you to reach out to the candidates and ask. There's several questions I wish I could ask, but unfortunately we're nearing the end of time. So we are now going to move, each candidate gets a 1-minute closing statement. And for that, we will start with Ken Seltzer.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for coming tonight. I know these aren't always the most exciting thing to sit through, so thank you for being here, and thank you to my wife, Deb, sitting up here in the audience. Many of you know her. I'm a business executive and a CPA who is very active in the community and sit on a number of boards. I know what a board ought to be doing in helping a company or an organization or a college to move forward. I work closely with K-State on a couple of advisory boards. Education and educators changed my life. They changed the trajectory of my career. I will always be indebted to both as I go forward. I'll always be giving back to the local community, the education community, just like we do in Blue Valley, where Deb and I are in their Hall of Fame for the things that we've done for the Blue Valley Educational Foundation. We'll always be giving scholarships, especially to first-generation students and financially challenged students, just like I was when I was coming through college. I look forward to helping this college grow. Thank you for inviting me tonight.
Valerie Jennings.
So I have several professional skill sets that I think would be assets to, for the trustee position. I'm a good listener. I'm a good problem solver. I'm a mediator. I'm a program developer and innovator. I'm a team member, and I always have been a servant leader. I believe in and I advocate for what is right, what is fair and equitable, and I know that in a community such as Johnson County Community College, every voice should be respected and listened to. I have 3 top priorities that I will be working towards, and that would be student success for all learners who choose Johnson County Community College as their place for learning. An environment that empowers faculty and staff to be their best every day. A quality education for students that begins with quality supports for staff. Ensuring that Johnson County Community College continues as an innovative and creative community for lifelong learners at all ages and all stages of life, and one that supports the needs and workforce in an ever-changing world.
Greg Mitchell.
I would like to thank the Faculty Association and the League of Women Voters for giving us the opportunity to take questions at this forum. On November 7th, the voters of Johnson County will have some important decisions to make. This year, there are over 100 elected positions on the ballot, including 3 positions on the Board of Trustees. In terms of the Board of Trustees race, my sincere hope is that you will elect 3 individuals who will preserve, protect, and defend the essential institution that is JCCC. Experience counts, so I'd encourage everyone to re-elect Laura Smith Everett. But in addition to experience, an open mind and real-world experience is essential to keeping JCCC on the path of excellence while avoiding the pitfalls of a "we've always done it that way" mentality. My experience working as a supply chain leader within hospitals, which tend to be amongst the most complex organizations with a very diverse set of stakeholders will transfer well to service on the Board of Trustees. I would appreciate your vote on November 7th.
Tara Wiggins.
I'd like to say thank you again to the League of Voters, the Faculty Association, and to the community. I want to be on the Board of Trustees because student success, community engagement, diversity, equity, and inclusion are dear to my heart. It was Gandhi who said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." I decided a long time ago, it's the doers of the world that make it a better place. So here I am, the doer, expecting to do what's in the best interest of our students, faculty, the community, and our stakeholders. If elected, I look forward to being a part of JCC and its continued path of higher excellence, and to collaborate with trustee members that are energetic about the work they do. I aim to bring a perspective to the college that embodies and upholds the visions of Johnson County Community College. I ask for your vote, and thank you again for the opportunity to share here tonight.
Cindy Green.
I will match against any candidate the diversity and breadth of my background in private business, government, civic and charitable leadership, governmental affairs work at 2 respected and important trade associations, and as an elected official with experience balancing the needs and demands of multiple stakeholders. I understand the need to hear and learn from all stakeholders prior to making decisions. My background and work with fiscal matters has prepared me to evaluate and understand the college's finances. My experience is unique and will allow me on day one a better understanding of how JCC, already great, can improve. So please vote for me on November 7th. And if you want more details on all that information, you can check out my website at greenforjcc.com.
Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you. On November 7th, you will get to pick 3 fabulous people up here. It's one of my favorite parts about this race. So thank you for being here tonight, being an informed voter. I am the only incumbent running this year, and I'm asking for your vote so that I can continue the work we've started and keep moving forward with 4 more years. I am the only teacher who has seen firsthand the effect of COVID on the students that are coming to this college. The effect is large, and we have a lot of work to do. There is no better place for students to come than right here at Johnson County Community College, and I look forward to us changing, morphing, becoming nimble for what those needs are. And I am the only, I just said that, I just read my notes again, I am the only teacher running for trustee. So please vote for me on November 7th so that we can keep making the great advances we've made at Johnson County Community College.
All right, let's give a round of applause to our candidates. So you, I've done this 3 times now, are the best group of staying on time. So you win A+, all of you. I know some previous trustees are in here that maybe didn't follow that. So y'all are setting the standard very nice. So thank you to the candidates for their participation tonight. It's been great to learn more about all of you. A couple reminders, Johnson County Community College is an early voting location, so if you plan to vote early, which you should, come here and do it. It's awesome. I love just being able to walk down and vote and go back to work. Thank you again for coming. Your vote is your voice, so please make sure you're heard in this election. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.